Wisps are probably the most hated thing in a Sonic game. Just kidding. But it's clear that their introduction to the modern Sonic franchise has been pretty divisive, to say the least. Even Sonic fans have noted their recyclability, especially when it comes to each of the individual color powers. But what if there was a better way to implement them into a Sonic game without having it be shoved into the center of Sonic's gameplay? And what if I told you it involves a little help from some old forgotten friends? Hello, welcome back everyone to 100% free premium content brought to you by me, Mr. Bane. For those of you who don't know me, I am the creator of the Sonic fan game, Sonic Momentum, and I use my production of the game to discuss topics surrounding various Sonic media. Now today, I am super excited to finally reveal my plans on shaking up some of the more recent additions to the Sonic formula, as I think I finally fleshed out the systems for it. But before we start, I wanted to ask, if you wanted to change something within the Sonic franchise without changing the core formula, what would it be? Let me know in the comments below. Whew, alright, here we go. Wisps back in Sonic Colors were meant to change up the gameplay for Sonic, offering different ways to play and opening up alternate routes. Fun, right? But there's some issues translating this outside of Sonic Colors. For one, it makes it difficult to add other characters with their own abilities, as the Wisps innately fill in the role for them. Gameplay would have to be centered around just Sonic or one character. Besides that, many Wisps were essentially just the same, and paths would just become more structured to be Wisp specific, which is something I felt was accomplished just fine with the 3 elemental shields. But wait, what if we didn't need Wisps and expanded on the shields instead? Why not, instead of having Sonic's moveset be changed by the shields, like in the classics, we do the same for every character? But I would just have to come up with 3 changes to only one specific aspect of a character, rather than figuring out how many ever color powers there are with all unique playstyles. This would allow me to continue with the environmental changes without changing the core of any character or the game itself. Brilliant! But I still wanted more than just getting a shield power-up, as that was only temporary. I wanted to move closer to something like the tag team mechanic in Sonic Advance 3. I wanted the characters to change up the way they played with these shield augments without drastically changing the base core of the character. But what could I bring back to be used as these augments? And then, I found it. What if the players could somehow equip a Chao to their arsenal, kind of like Sonic Chronicles, where different types of Chao would raise the player's stats? This would allow me to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. I could both enhance the player's experience and provide a bigger role to the Chao than just merely pets. This is something I actually had on the back burner for a while. Years ago, I had a mini Chao Garden game that was meant to connect to the main game I had worked on. The stats of the Chao would carry over and increase the player stats, however the stats made things a little bit too crazy, and wasn't really balanced well, and thus the concept never went anywhere. But having these shield augments might be a better way to balance the game in place of the stats, so let's try it out. Although technically this is Iteration 2, Iteration 1 was never meant towards Sonic Momentum, so I don't count it as such. But anyways, unlike the other aspects of the game, this was brought in the first release of Sonic Momentum as a hidden power-up and unlockable. Each item box is found in different routes, the top, mid, and low route, as a way to gauge whether or not I could have the elemental power-ups. Once collecting each one and finishing the level with it, you can unlock a specific Chao. Hero, Dark, and Neutral sprites were used to differentiate between them, and equipping them will apply a different type of shield power-up. You could also swap out the shield with the hidden item box to change up the pace in the middle of a level. This actually worked well to enhance replayability, and having the Chao follow you was just so cute. But here's the problem. How were the Chao able to suddenly have this kind of power? How would a system work, and where would these Chao come from? How would I be able to balance this and keep the base character intact? It took me a while to figure something out, and then suddenly, some news came around that changed the path of the Sonic franchise. The announcement of the recent Sonic Colors Ultimate sparked a new interest from many Sonic fans, including myself. It brought the reintroduction of the Wisp, which again led many people to be skeptical about it, especially with the new Jade Ghost Wisp. But that's when the pieces came together. Why not use the Wisps as a substitute for animals found in the Sonic Adventure series? Since SEGA is so hell-bent on phasing them out, we can better utilize the Wisps in this way. It will give an explanation on how Chao were able to receive these newfound powers, as both Wisps and Chao learned to adapt in unison. I gathered what I could about the different types of Wisps and began to categorize them. I did leave out certain Wisps that I felt didn't have a place for how I could use them, and I noticed that I could create 3 categories that correlate to the 3 types of Chao. But I wanted more than just a collectathon of Wisps used as fuel for the Chao, and even more interactability between the player and the augments. This is where the stat change idea from years ago came in. With the release of the Sweet Mountain update to Sonic Momentum, I added some Wisps to test out the functionality. Wisps can be found throughout the stage and within certain enemies. Collecting them will store them in your inventory until you complete the stage. Only a maximum of 3 can be stored at a time. Subsequent ones will replace the last one in your inventory, like in the Adventure series. But, unlike the Adventure series, you can now activate the primary slot to release the Wisp's energy to any character. That's right, I said any character, not just Sonic. But the way they work has been changed. Rather than providing a new gameplay mechanic, they offer a momentary buff based on 4 different types: speed, flight, power, and utility. Think of it like the Chaos Drives from Sonic Adventure 2. This was the idea I had years ago, but I carefully balanced it for Sonic Momentum. I'll run through it quickly. The speed buff temporarily improves acceleration, but at the cost of not being able to de-accelerate as quickly. The flight buff increases your jump height, but at the cost of floatiness. Power increases the physical attack strength, but at the cost of not being able to increase your battle rank as quickly, and only affects physical attacks. And utility will allow you to not be stunned when getting hit by an enemy, but will cost you some invulnerability frames. As you can see, every temporary buff acts like a double-edged sword, leaving room for versatility. You can decide whether you want to use the buff for a specific situation or keep it held for a Chao once the level is complete. This also allows for each character to retain their core mechanics. However, there's still a problem. The idea of the Chao and the Wisps still weren't connected. Wisp mechanics still acted as separate entities. Yeah, you can find them and use them, but how would the Chao get its stat raised? How would I balance it with the already stated buffs? How would the Chao achieve its elemental power? How would you even find them? Is this already too much? Am I just boarding this too much? I had all the pieces. I just needed to line them up. So here we go. It took me a while, but I think I finally did it. Chao eggs will be in a hidden spot for each zone. There will also be a rare variety Chao for each zone that will be completely randomized. This includes within enemies as well. Collecting one and completing the act will unlock a baby Chao. These Chao will have random grades assigned to their stats: run, fly, power, and swim, from D to S. More on that in a bit. Within the character select menu, you can give your Chao Wisps to raise their stats. Depending on the type of Wisp will raise a certain stat, and will also dictate their moral compass. As an example, a Void Wisp will move the Chao towards a Dark typing and increase its flight stat, as it is a Dark type Flight Wisp. Are we following? Depending on the rank stat of the Chao will also dictate how much of the stat raise they will gain. The higher the rank, the faster the select stat increases. You can also equip the Chao in-game to increase the stats as well by doing various things, such as maintaining your top speed, longer airtime, defeating enemies, exploring different paths, and more. Are we still following? Once reaching a threshold, the Chao will enter its adult form. This works exactly how you'd expect it to the Adventure series. Depending on the typing, will increase the stats ranked by 1. And equipping it will now give you a new elemental shield ability based on the moral compass of the Chao. Dark types gain the fire elemental shield, neutral types give the electric, and hero gives you the water type. Then there's the second evolution. Once reaching another threshold, the Chao will begin increasing your stats based on its own typing, but there are some conditions. A double single typing heavily increases the player stats in that category, and a dual typing will slightly increase the character stats in 2 different categories. Before you get confused, I'll give you an example. If I raise a Chao to become a neutral run type Chao, the player will gain the electric augment and their acceleration will increase dramatically. Side note, once the Chao reaches the second evolution, you will no longer achieve any buffs from Wisp as it gets overridden. Now, how in the world does this really affect the other characters? This is where the bigger picture comes in that I wasn't able to present last year. The introduction of the Chao is meant to change up the player's style of play. Exploring different Chao builds is key to Sonic Momentum. Going back to the example, a run type Chao gives Sonic more of a Rush series type Sonic, where he's super fast, but his platforming is hard to control. Alternatively, you can always go towards a Fly type Chao and achieve a classic like Sonic, but it does make it more difficult to go through the battle paths as his general floatiness can be hard to control. Maybe you want a battle type Sonic with a power typing, because combos are hard to do. Or maybe you just want to go a no Chao equipped route because you're better at the base character. The builds cater to you, the player. Now I know the system seems to be very big and complex, and it might present some things I will need to balance in the future, but I will do my best to balance things accordingly by tweaking some numbers here and there. The system itself has been working out pretty well, and I'm super excited to bring this into the Sonic 2020 era for full testing. If you do want to see more plans for Sonic Momentum in 2022, watch this video to see how I completely change characters such as Tails. Until next update, Mr. Bane out.